Perfect. Welcome to my talk on how to elevate your IDE with scripting. So as you might have guessed from the title, this talk is about a lot of scripting, about the e-scripting project in Eclipse. But today we do not want to focus on scripts itself, how to write them, what they do. We want to focus how we can push those scripts into our IDE, how we can add additional functionality to our IDE without writing Java code to it. So first of all, I'd like to ask you, who of you has never heard of ease or never used ease? Oh, this is quite a lot. So I will start with a short slide set. So it takes about 5 minutes. You can get all the slides directly from the talk description. There's a link in there where I can see the slides online, so it will not take long for that. And right after that, we start and jump into a live session to see how this works. So the ease Eclipse scripting project, it's some kind of bridge between existing Eclipse projects that give you editor support and language support for different script languages and existing interpreters for script languages. So for example, if we look at JavaScript, we have the JSDT tooling that allows you to write JavaScript code in your IDE. And on the other hand, there are script engines like Rhino or Nashorn, which can run JavaScript code directly. Ease is some kind of bridge in between. What ease allows to do is it takes a script file and it executes the script on the same JRE that Eclipse runs upon. So what this allows to do is you can not only run script code, you can interact with all your Java classes that are available on your JRE. You could instantiate the workspace and access the workspace. You could open views. You could change views. With a new E4 model, you can change the whole model of your application dynamically from a script file. And it doesn't have to be Java code. So scripts can be written in different languages like JavaScript. We support Python, we have Groovy support, and we have Ruby support currently available. There's even Bean Shell if you like it, but this is more kind of a prototype in there. Take your picture. Okay. So ease is a lot about scripting, so this means it doesn't have a lot of UI components. One of the most popular that you still get is a script shell. It's a kind of interactive shell, like a bash, for example, where you can input single lines of code and execute them right on the fly and get the results back. What you do get is access to the Java runtime, as I already told you, so you can directly access Java classes from your script code. You can access external jars, so you can add jars to your class path dynamically during runtime, execute them right away. And of course, you can access Eclipse directly. We have code completion implemented, so you can get all your Java classes, your methods from Java in the shell using the default control space code completion characters. You get help tooltips. This is not fully working for all the helps yet, but we are improving this steadily. What you then can do is, most of the time, a script language is, well, it doesn't support a lot of functionality from Eclipse, of course. JavaScript has no support, no native functions for Eclipse code itself. So what we provide is modules, which are basically libraries that extend functionality to your script engine. Those libraries are written in Java. They are pushed to your script engine dynamically during runtime, so you can load them. And after loading a library, all these commands that are available in the library are available in script code too. The nice thing about it is when you write the library in Java, it's available to all the script engines out there. So you write the library once, and you get it in JavaScript, you get it in Python, you get it in Groovy, you get it in all the engines you have there. So this is how it looks like. Load a module, and then you have like functionality to access the UI, for example, in that case. It's very simple to write your own modules. There is even a dynamic way. You can get any Java instance you like and wrap it dynamically, which means get all the public methods from the Java class and push it to your script stack and have script functions available for that. So you can register poachers as extension points if you like, or if you want to have more control on what you're exposing, there are dedicated annotations to your methods and to your fields to explicitly tell the system what do you want to see in a script engine and what's private to the Java world. We also generate documentation dynamically from Java doc code, which we push to Eclipse help automatically, which will then be used for the dynamic help hovers you can get in the IDE. This is all, normally you can do this, we do this with the Java doclet, but you can do it during build time if you want to integrate it into a Tyco build. We do have launch support, of course, so you can launch your scripts right away, so you do not have to use the interactive shell all the time. You can right-click on the JavaScript file, say launch as eScript, and then it'll run in a separate process in your IDE. When there is launch support, you typically want debug support. So debug support is working for Rhino currently and for Python, not for the other engines. And now we come to the topic that we want to look at today. It's about creating libraries of scripts and to see where do we record those libraries and how do we bring them to the IDE and what they can do for us in the IDE. So this is the moment where I'm going to switch to my live demo. What I've got here is a default Eclipse Neon.1, and I installed extensions of ease, which you can get from eclipse.org/ease, and there you can find the download locations for the project. What ease comes with is with a new perspective for scripting, which I just switched to, where I can see the Rhino script shell in there quite prominent. So you can see how this works. Just enter code, and you can see the results live away. Is this readable in the back row there? OK. Yeah, please.
Maybe briefly talk about how you get to the Rhino shell in your Eclipse installation.
You just open the view for the Rhino shell here. That's the only thing you do. It's a view you just open from the view menu. Show view or take the quick access to open the shell. OK?
Ours doesn't have it, so what do you install ease?
You have to install ease, of course. Yeah. Yeah, so as soon as you've installed ease and the UI component of ease, you get the script shell in there. You just can open it like any other view. If you have problems with that, let's just look later. Maybe there's an installation problem on your machine. OK, so what I've prepared right now is I have a lot of scripts that I'd like to show to you and which show the concept of keywords and what they do in scripting. To make ease aware of scripts in your workspace, you have to register them. We can do that in the Preferences dialog. You have a new node for scripting. This is basically what ease is all about. And there we have script locations. Script locations are just places where you host scripts. That doesn't necessarily mean they have to be hosted in your workspace. They can be hosted in your file system if you like. They can even be hosted on a web server if you want to. So what I'm doing right now, I'm adding a workspace location. And I'm using a folder called live, which is currently empty. I'll push scripts step by step into that folder, and we can see in the system how the scripts will be detected by the system and how they affect the system later on. OK. Another UI extension is the Script Explorer. The Script Explorer is just a monitor for all the scripts we currently detected in the system and shows you what they can do for you. The first script I'd like to show you is the Explore from Here stuff. So I'll copy the script to the live folder, and you can see it suddenly appears in the Script Explorer. So the Script Explorer now is aware of that script. You can run scripts right away from the Script Explorer if you like, or right-click and edit them if you want to. So this is a typical JavaScript file. Let's make this a bit bigger, maybe. I do not care a lot of the code down here. What it basically does, it tries to detect the current selection, tries to find out if it's something like an iResource. And if it's an iResource, it detects the path where the resource is stored and opens a Window Explorer on my system. Or on a Linux system, it would maybe open Crusader or something similar, just to point it to the path. Now what the script, or what we want to do with the script, is we want to push it to the UI and make it more visible. So the first thing I'll do is I'll add a keyword. Keywords are detected in the header of a script. So if the header of a script is a comment, we are looking for keywords, which are basically a simple word followed by a colon and then some arbitrary text, some detailed information for that keyword. There are keywords that are detected by the engines, and there are keywords that are ignored by the engines. Which keywords are available you can find on our wiki page. There's a dedicated list of all keywords and what they do. And the very first I'd like to show to you is a toolbar keyword, which means I want the script to be available in the toolbar of the Project Explorer view. So you see, you do not have to know about view IDs here. You can just write the literal name that you can find in the title bar of a view. You could also use a view ID if you know that, but typically it's a hard way to find out. So I'd like you to monitor right now the toolbar. As soon as I save that script, you will see something pop up here. Pay attention. And you can see the Explore from script is right now available in our toolbar. Let's test this. Let's select our live folder. and run that script. So you can see it opened the Windows Explorer and just exactly did what I promised before. It brings us to the live folder here. Now this was the very first step, bring it to a toolbar. Now let's beautify this stuff a little. First, I'd like to get rid of the .js extension. What I can do for that is I can add a dedicated name to the script. Of course, there's a keyword called name. Set it, and you can see the item changed. If you do want to have more fancy stuff, you do want to provide an image, right? So use the image keyword. You can see here that I'm using the platform URI scheme. So I'm reusing an image that comes from org Eclipse Ease UI and is stored within my plugin project. Let's save this. And you can see it changed to an image up there. As you've seen, there is a toolbar entry. It's quite likely that there is also a menu entry available. The menu entry stores stuff to the view menu. And the last thing I'd like to show with this example, we have 3 types of menus or menu contributions in Eclipse. We have toolbars, we have menus, and the third one is pop-ups. Pop-up works a little bit different. You have to tell for which classes you enable stuff. So I'm telling right now, if the selection is something of type iResource and it has a context menu, I'd like to script to appear there. So right now you can see in the context menu of Explore from here, from the resource, the Explore from here is appearing. If I would change this from iResource to iContainer, for example, I would not see this on files anymore. I just would see this on folders and projects. So you see it's gone in the file menu. It's still there in the menu of a folder. So this is basically what the keyword mechanism does. Push keywords to the header of a script and augment the UI by pushing dedicated keywords there. Let me show you a second example. It's called Pastebin. Move it to the live folder. The code is a bit more complex here. Basically, it was taken from the web. It was a web example how to use a Pastebin API. I just copied over the Java code, changed it a bit to make it JavaScript style. And what it basically does, it takes a text selection. And as you can see it from the pop-up, it registers for every kind of text selection you can have in Eclipse. It uses an image from the web directly. Hope the Wi-Fi is working. And you can see you have the copy to Pastebin right now in your text selection with the image just fetched from the web. Using that stuff, if it works, it gives me a URI for Pastebin. Let's stop. Where we should be able to see the code we just selected and pushed online. So you see, this is quite easy way to augment the UI, and if you have some functionality that maybe takes ages to get into Eclipse, you can do it right now within a script and within maybe minutes if you have the sample code already available. Let's continue with our journey with the scripts. The next example is not a very useful example. It's there to show you how the keyword mechanism works. Are you all familiar with the event bus and what the event bus of V4 does? Some are nodding. Who is not? OK, some of you. So the event bus is a general bus where you can push messages to. It's like think of it as a message delivery system. And normally, in the previous times, you typically have your publisher-subscriber pattern, like with SWT, when you have a button, you have to say button.add-selection-listener, where the button then is the publisher of events later on, when the selection occurs. And the class you're registering, the listener, is a subscriber that waits on an event. The problem with that pattern is, if you want to subscribe to more than one event, you have to register to all those different publishers. You have to find those publishers first. Once you find those publishers, each of them expects a different interface to be implemented by your listener. And this might get quite complicated when you have more and more different kinds of events. The event bus itself from Eclipse decouples the whole process. So there's this nice event broker service up there. And if you have an event to publish, you just say to the event broker, hey, this is the event. Please take care that everybody that is interested in the event gets a message. That's what you do as a publisher. You do not have lists anymore of subscribers. You do not care about them. That's stuff for the event bus. And on the other hand, if you're interested in events, you go to the event bus and say, I'm interested in events of a certain type. Please notify me if such an event occurs. That's the mechanism we are using for the is keywords. To show how this works, I'm using the event spy, which is part of the E4 spy tools. Let's look at those two scripts, ping and pong. They're very easy. So the ping script doesn't have any keyword at all, so we have to run it manually. It just posts an event of a certain type. So this is some kind of the type identifier of the event. And on the other hand, we have the pong script, and it waits on the event bus. When it sees something occur on the event bus, an event of that certain type, it'll react, and it'll be triggered and started and run, and should show a small info dialog just to show that it worked. So let's do this. First of all, I'm moving the pong script to the live folder where it gets monitored. Maybe we should also start capturing events using a filter here that we do not see all the events. Let's just look at events coming from org Eclipse East right now. Okay, and I'm using the ping script. I'm pushing it just to the shell, so the shell will execute that script right away. You can see we had the pong event happening right now, so the event was detected and our second script was triggered. And on the event spy, you can see that the event actually was sent to the event bus and then picked up by our second script. So what we do with keywords generally, when we see keywords, we always push them to the event bus. If we had our pong script, if we would add a new keyword, for example, I call it test, and when I save the script, you can see in the event spy that you get a new event of type org Eclipse eScript keywords, and then the dedicated keyword that was detected in the system that changed. So you get notifications on each keyword change, when it was added, when it was removed, when it was changed. So if you do not want to rely on the current is keywords that are implemented, you can implement your own keywords. You do not have to do anything in is at all to add your keywords to the system. Just push it to your script, the keyword, and have a detector that listens on the event bus on changes on that keyword. So you can assemble scripts for a dedicated keywords and react on them. Maybe if you want to do something when a dedicated build is triggered, when a new project is created or whatever. You just need a listener in your system. On the other hand, wait for events for script keywords, merge them together and run your scripts. So you can bring scripts to your own events and your own event style. Some more scripts to show you what they can do. The previous events, or the previous keywords we had were more for augmenting the UI. Now we have a lot of keywords that wait for dedicated events and trigger something. So this one, on save, will trigger whenever you save an editor in your system. And it will not react on any editor. It will only react on editors for JavaScript files right now. This is a simple example for a builder. What it does, it looks at script files. And if a script file does not start with a comment, it'll add a warning to the very first line and say some comment is missing. I'm saving that script file, and you can see the error marker was created. Combined with the very first script of the Explorer, when you think back of this would be an easy way to implement a custom builder if you had one. So you could say, I run my own command line tool, for example, parse the output, and create error markers out of it. And I can do it on every resource change if I'd like to. So let's remove those lines again, and you can see the warning is gone. Right now we are starting with a comment. Everything's fine. A very similar script is the Changelog Creator. It doesn't react on resource changes of an editor. It reacts on any resource change in the system. So this might be a file checkout, for example, or a revert of a file, creation of files, deletions of files. So you can react on those events, and we just accumulate those events on JavaScript files right now. And we'll write, where do we see this? Here. We are going to the workspace and create a changelog.txt file. So let's change something, for example. Oh boy. Oh, sorry, I did change, of course, the script. I did change it in a bad way, and running the same script in a bad way is not a good idea. Let's just add a comment. Now the script itself, of course, can run because I fixed the error. And you can see the changelog file is created. This is just an example. I hope you can do more fancy stuff than just create changelog files in your workspace. There are other scripts. I'd like to skip this to show this to you because it means restarting of the IDE, and we do not have much time left. What it does here right now, it's on startup, means whenever Eclipse is started, whenever the Eclipse IDE comes up, I'd like to run a script. You have the possibility to add a delay in seconds in here. Often when the IDE is started, you have a problem that the IDE is not fully available yet. Not all the views are created yet and loaded yet, so you might want to delay your script before you run it. Similar to this, I'd like to show you the last two scripts from my demo. They are called Remember This and the Reminder. What they do is, the first one just opens an input dialog and asks me, do you want to remember something in the system which I should present to you later on when you do a shutdown of the system? The new keyword introduced in here is a keyboard keyword where you can add key bindings dynamically to scripts. So you do not have to push your scripts to toolbars if you don't like them. You can add key bindings too. You have to be a bit careful about this. We do not care about existing key bindings. So if you add your key binding, it'll override anything in the system. In the worst case, maybe two things happen when you do one keyboard shortcut here. So I'm doing Shift F9 right now, and it's asking me what I want to remember. And maybe I want to buy milk when I go home and want to be reminded of this. And the reminder script then runs on shutdown. And here the value is a timeout, which says if the timeout runs out, I'd like to be forcefully shut down. So if the script opens UI, maybe I want to skip this at a certain point in time and say, do not wait longer for any user input or things like that, or the script execution to be terminated. And if I terminate my IDE, the script will run. I'll not trigger it on shutdown because I do not want to shut down the IDE right now. I run it manually. And you can see it brings up the reminder to buy milk here. So this is the way you can augment your UI, and you can come up with new keywords. If you have ideas for good new keywords, please push them to our bug tracker. Please inform us on our mailing list. We are very interested in your use cases and like to extend the system step by step. So I told you in the beginning that you can find all the keywords on our wiki page. So this is an overview. But sometimes you do not want to go to the wiki page all the time or know these keywords by heart. So there's an alternate way to set keywords. And you can use a properties view of Eclipse. Let's make this a bit bigger. And if you select a script, for at least some of those keywords, you get a nice properties view here. So for the UI integration, you can already see you can change the name right away here from the editor. And you can see it changed immediately here in the system. You can change the image right away. You can select images right from your workspace or from your file system if you like to. You can add a description which is used for tooltips. Or you have a selector for the toolbar, the menu, or the pop-ups. So you can just select a view as you know it from the Show View dialog. Select a view in there and push the script to a different view if you like to, and connect it. Now there's a big difference between the way the properties view adds keywords to scripts and how it's done when you add keywords to the header. You can see that it's in the All Keywords tab. You will see all keywords even if Eclipse or East doesn't know about them. And you can see an image next to them. So you can see the script image when the keyword is stored in the script directly in the header. Or I can see that user image, which means this keyword is stored in your metadata folder of your workspace. So it doesn't change the script directly. This is sometimes very useful when you, for example, share scripts in a company or get scripts from a website. They are read-only to you. You cannot change the header. But you still can change the keywords if you like, just by adding the keywords using the properties view here. So always take care that the keyword change happens in the place where you want it to happen. So if you want all users to be affected by that, push it to the script directly. If it's just for you, then change it here in the properties view. Two more things I'd like to show you before we end the live demo. I told you before that you have to use a script engine to write scripts. That's not entirely true. You can also use Java files if you want to. So if you do not like JavaScript, you can write your own Java file. What I've done here is I've just created a plugin project like any other plugin project, added my Eclipse dependencies as I needed them, just a normal way, and created a class with a public static void main method, the classic main method. What we do here is you can register those Java files the same way as you can register scripts. And what we do, we search for the main method and simply run the main method. If it's not there, we will run nothing. So to see this, we have to register the script location. So I'm adding another workspace location, adding the whole project here. And you can see our script is called, has the name tag in there, another keyword called Java test. And the script magically appears here on our script repository. What this one does, it creates a new project in the workspace. Let's do this. It created a new Java project. If the Java project would already be there, it would present an error dialog. So on the second run, it'll tell me that the resource is already there. But this is an alternate way of writing scripts for people that do not like scripting itself and prefer the Java code. The interesting stuff is, as you recognized, we didn't restart anything. The thing that you typically have to do when you run Eclipse. We do not compile scripts, though, so we rely on the automatic build of the workspace and take the binaries automatically created by the Eclipse IDE. So if you disable the automatic build, this step will not work for you. The last thing I'd like to show you, previously we had those scripts registers here in our script locations, and I told you have to push them to the workspace or to the file system or anywhere else. But this is not quite useful for users typically. Users are used to P2 mechanisms to install additional stuff. So we provide a dedicated way that you can push your scripts to plugins and install them using the usual P2 way. How this works is I created a normal plugin project here, added a simple script to that plugin project. And when you do that, typically you have to take care that in your build settings, you add that folder that contains your scripts to the build, because otherwise it wouldn't be part of the jar file created. Then created a normal Eclipse feature, including your plugin that holds your scripts. And now the trick is to add a dedicated P2 info file. What you can do with those files is you can add additional install steps to a P2 installation. So this is nothing that comes with ease directly. There are a lot of actions already available for P2. We added just one to dynamically add script locations. So what you can do right now is I can say, on install, I want a new location to be registered in the preferences of the user. And in our case, as we're having our scripts hosted in a plugin, I'm adding a location of type platform plugin, which is an Eclipse URI scheme that directly points to the install plugin location. So this is a nice way where you can just push your feature on the P2 side, install them, and you're just installing scripts. And on the next restart, all these scripts will pop up and maybe augment the UI depending on their keywords you have in their scripts. OK, so far to my live demo. Let me go back to my slides. So we did see that we can augment the UI. This was the example I showed to you. Ease can do more than this. So this is just one fragment of Ease. Ease has, for example, libraries to do live charting for scientific stuff. If you're interested in scientific usage of Ease, normally done with Python and not exactly with JavaScript, come to the talk at 4 o'clock today in the very same room. Jonah will show you how you can use Ease with Python. There's also a JUnit-like framework where you can write scripted tests, which is very interesting if you have users doing integration tests, for example, which are not so skilled Java programmers and want to have an easy API. to write the test, you can use that scripted testing framework. It's fully integratable into Jenkins or Hudson builds if you like to, so you can use it in your automated tests. We already did see in scripts that you can interact with Java sources. Thank you. Those interactions with Java classes directly works also from the normal script, so like from the script shell or any other script file you have. So what we did is I created a project in the workspace, and I'm just accessing the test Java class and dynamically create an instance of that class without restarting anything. It relies on the same mechanism that the build artifacts are already done by Eclipse. And as you can see, you can invoke your Java class and test it without even invoking a new Eclipse instance. So this is the current overview of our engine support as we have it by now. So you see the best supported engine so far is Rhino, because it's very cheap and you can get it very easily integrated into Eclipse because everything is in the Eclipse universe already. We do have support for Nastron, of course, if you have Java.8. Problem with Nastron is it doesn't come with a debug interface. So this is not provided by Oracle and not planned to be there. So there will not be a JavaScript debugger for Nastron for the time being. Py4j is a dedicated topic of science community and Jonah and Tracy that will show you the stuff in the afternoon. Jython is an alternate interpreter for Python code. It cannot do all the things that Py4j does. So, for example, it has no support for scientific usage. But it's interesting if you just use Python code and do not have a lot of side packages you want to use. Ruby support, JRuby is there. You did see that we can access the JVM directly in Java classes. And of course, Bean Shell is some kind of demo. If you're interested in implementing your own engine, for example, on my blog, the address will come later, you'll see an example how to implement Bean Shell into ease. So if you have your own engine which you want to integrate, it's quite simple to do so. So if you want to get in touch with us, eclipse.org/ease is a project page where you find all the detailed information, how to come to the update site, where the documentation is located, and so on. CodeandMe.blogspot.com is my blog where I recently or often blog about ease and show the new things that ease can do. And finally, I'd like to rate this session. So I do like those +1s, but even more, I do like your comments there. Tell me what I can improve. Tell me which was great. Thanks a lot. And if you So I'm open to questions. Please.
So you're defining the keywords, as I understand, in the scripts themselves. For the use case, when you have a set of scripts using the same keywords and possibly written in different scripting languages, how does that scale it?
I didn't get the message so far, the question.
You have the keywords defined in the script themselves.
Yes.
So let's say I have a use case where different scripts, or let's say a set of scripts, are using the same keywords.
So if you have multiple keywords for on startup, for example, they all run. There is no order guaranteed how they run, but they will all be executed. Each script is executed in its own container, so scripts do not interfere with each other. It's like a sandbox. If you have 2 scripts, we will start up 2 script engines for that, which are totally disconnected from each other. There are ways to exchange data if you like to, so there's some kind of common container where you can share data if you want to, but you can run as many scripts as you like in parallel.
Like locally declare keywords somehow, so all the corresponding scripts use the keywords defined in a central location.
There is a service which you can query for those keywords. So you can query the script service which registers all that script, and you can tell the system, give me all scripts that have a dedicated keyword implemented in the header. So you can fetch those scripts if you like to. Please?
Is there any notion of running this headlessly? I'm thinking of the
Yes.
case where you want to set up a workspace, do some stuff before the actual IDE.
Yes. Yes. So you can run this headless, so it's a dedicated application you have to call then. You can find it in the help, so there is a help topic how to run headlessly. Then it'll run just one script, of course, and that script could trigger other scripts. Keyword mechanism is not working for headless mode. You're running a dedicated script. You can do all the stuff that oomph does if you want to with a script. But this shouldn't be a competition. Please?
Regarding target platform, what if I develop an application that doesn't have the Eclipse API directly accessible? Will scripts that access, for instance, a resource or something still work? Because Java code would not combine with object type, right?
If you're currently running IDE, does find the class on the class path, it'll work.
Okay.
Yeah? You have to have it on the class path.
What's the requirement to use a particular plugin that is installed in the Eclipse environment?
No requirement at all. So if your package exposes, or if your plugin exposes packages, they'll be visible to the system.
Okay, then you need to import them with this load module something? Or
You do not have to import anything. So if you want to just access a class in the system, then you just write the full class name, full qualified class name, and it's there.
okay, then I need to ask another question. What's the purpose of this load module that was in the header?
The load module is different. So if you just want to use Java classes, you just, in Rhino, you write packages dot whatever, company, whatever class you have. And those modules are there to augment the functionality of scripting. So for example, the Rhino engine doesn't come with a print method. It's not there. So we provide a library that provides a print method.
Okay, so this is totally scripted.
Yes. Ease is meant to be an easily extendable language for users normally not so skilled in programming. So this was the origin where we come from. Typically, we had users that know a bit about functional programming, but if you start with classes and instances, they are completely lost. They want a pure functional interface, and that's the way to provide them with such an interface. Please.
Has there been any consideration towards macro recording?
Yes. It's a big this was my dream, actually, at the beginning of that system. The problem is you do not get the events from Eclipse so far that you can do macro recording. What we can do is we can record stuff that you do in the shell. So the shell has a record button. You can click it, and it records all the commands you push to the shell. But you cannot record the system. You simply do not get the events out. So we are hoping for the event bus. Maybe in years from now, everything will be on the event bus. And then you could really record what the system does.
Is there some kind of repository for scripts that users can publish their most useful scripts?
The project itself does host a script repository for sample scripts. So if you have any, you can post them there. You'll find it on eclipse.org/ease. One of the repositories is simply for scripts, and you can push anything you like there. There are some example scripts, like the ones I showed today.
You should that you can add jars to more code, and you also load those jars. Like if I run a script and add a jar,
I add them to the class path. No, it's just for, I'm adding it to the class path. So when the script is run, the Rhino engine in the background has a class path that it resolves. And I'm adding the jar to the class path. And so the normal class loader, there's a URI class loader that's used for that.
Can you also remove it?
Currently not, no. If the script engine is terminated on the next run, you have a new chance to register it or not register. The script shell has a reset engine button, which will completely delete everything and start from scratch, for example. Well, thank you. Enjoy EclipseCon and enjoy lunch.